that the federal government has this money. And I'm not defending them. I'm just telling the what I've done. I don't think they have the money. Foundation, go ahead. Foundation, are you sure you guys can hear me? Why request to speak if you're not going to speak? Okay, yeah. So I mean, if you look, let me give you some numbers that I've looked at. Salaries currently, right now, if you take salaries, right, as a function, as you compare salaries to total revenues of the government, we are looking at about 44%. This is just salaries alone, 44%. I haven't added debt. I haven't added fuel subsidy. I haven't added capital expenses. I haven't even added all the other, should we say, things that the government spends money on. This is just salaries alone. So once we start to add debt, once we start to add capital expenses, the costs go up. It's just the numbers. We haven't grown our economy. That's the problem. It's not the minimum wage. Labor is not wrong to ask for 400,000, but they simply are asking from a guy that doesn't have the money. Unfortunately, the guy that doesn't have the money has been spending the small money that it has, so he can't really talk too much. Douglas, what's on your mind, Mr. Douglas? Save us here. Mr. Douglas, can you speak? All right, maybe you might be having some technical issues. S3, if you want to speak, jump right in. I want to make sure one person can speak. Just make sure that I'm set up.
Can
okay.
You hear me?
I can hear you, Douglas. Go for it.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I think the thing is, I think vast majority of Nigerians know that government is broke. But government is all about the optics. You can't be telling me that you're broke, but you are spending, lavishly and treating yourself to, nice things and all of that, and you expect people to, be hungry around you and all. It just doesn't work. You understand? And then again, I also suspect, I might be wrong, that NLC's demand of 400,000 is also symbolic. They're trying to tell them, okay, well, if you say you can spend, we also want to have a share of that money that you are spending recklessly. They know. They have very enlightened people around them.
That is true.
And I 100% support NLC on this. If they can go for the jugular, if they can ask for 1 million, they should ask for 1 million. Let all of us be mad in that country.
Like we say, right?
I probably feel that when the chiefs are down, I think there will be a reset somehow. You understand? And it's quite unfortunate from the news that I'm hearing that they've called off the strike. I think it was just too quick. You understand? And there is crisis of confidence, and there's, if you look at what is happening in Nigeria now, there is, decline of institutions and all of those things, by the political class, destroying institutions and all of that. You understand?
Yeah.
So any institution that has an opportunity to make a mark should be able to stand up and do that. Now is the golden time to do that.
Yeah.
Judiciary had an opportunity to do that last year during the elections, the election petitions from the state level to the federal level and all of those things. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't read their handwriting on the wall, you understand? And we are where we are today. Some of them, some of the judges, they feel that they are better off for it, you understand? But they do not understand what they are doing to the institution. When you look at people, even ordinary citizens, no longer obey court orders. It's that bad. People know.
This feeling of that anybody can do what they want as long as you have money.
You only need to be able to outspend the other person.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Which is sad.
And it's quite a shame. And you when you go to courts, you see judges, they are helpless. They give orders, and these orders are not obeyed. When you come back to them, they'll tell you, oh, what do you want them to do? that's. I mean, it's.
I hear you. Douglas, I hear you. Douglas, I hear you. And again, just to be clear, Douglas, I think the strike wasn't called off. What they did was that the strike is still on, but they called off the implementation for this new should we say laws that are being passed to get passed. I want to see the federal government's hand. So I think it's called off for 5 days.
I mean, with all due respect, we know all those things. The optics that I saw a couple of days ago, was it 2 days ago or yesterday, where the NLC president and TUC president is shaking hands with the president. What was that supposed to be? Do you understand that you are a labor leader, for Christ's sake? I mean, you've lost confidence. If you were negotiating on my behalf, I've lost every form of confidence in you. Because how can you, even if you were lured into that picture, taking photographs with the president, don't you have sense?
I mean, you make a good point. And like going back to your initial comment where you talked about that they know what's going on, but the labor is trying to also, push that envelope and say, yes, let us push as far as we can go. They know their final resting figure. My only fear is this, right? That they might push that envelope and people will say, listen, we no go agree. We want 400 or 200 or nothing. And then it becomes, I hope you are right that the labor knows their numbers. I hope you are right.
I think Nigeria we need a hard, let's be honest about these things, you understand? Let's not embellish words. I think we need a hard reset in that country. Yes, it's going to come with a lot of, consequences and all that, but we need a hard reset in that country. And until we get that hard, it's very, very unlikely and very difficult for us to, have this smooth transition that some people are envisaging. I feel it's just a mirage.
I hear you.
People are not being objective about it.
Douglas, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point there. And so my own point again is, we're gonna move on, right? I just hope that both parties understand that they are negotiating and that eventually there has to be a setting. Hard setting is a very, very difficult thing to say. Hard setting means hyperinflation, depression, then hard setting. So I would prefer that we sort of negotiate our way through this. I mean, I have a solution. I hope I can tweet it later on, and those that can grab it and run with it. But I just think that I hope both sides understand that there's a negotiation. Both sides are correct. I just want to make sure that we understand that we have a nation and all that. Douglas, thank you so much. Let me get S3. If you want to hang out, Douglas, you can hang. Let me get S3 real quick here. S3, you got the floor. Go ahead. Douglas, I appreciate that. So thank you so much. S3, go ahead.
All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
How are you doing today?
I think the government, they are not showing that they are listening. They are still in the process, at the point where they still don't care. They still don't care. At least we need to start from somewhere. We need to start from them caring. This ridiculous amount, this 400,000, I agree that it's a ridiculous amount if you check what we actually have. But we need to start from somewhere. We need to start from somewhere, at least to show that, okay, we are working on it. For example, that austerity budget Mr. Kalu asked about, no one is even talking towards that area, which should be obvious to anyone in that position, like if they are competent. So things are still looking very gloomy. I just hope that the NLC goes for round 2, because this is how things are. Like after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month to pass, then we'll now look towards the next thing. Yeah. It becomes old news.
Gotcha. And your first point.
That's what I'm afraid of.
S3, your first point is very important. I'm seeing, for instance, the Senate is trying to pass a law to say that they want to outlaw strikes at the airport, at the power plants.
They are quick to do that one. It shows that all they want to do is hold power and use it to better themselves. That's all they are good at doing. Before the election, the person that was hailing, one of the lawmakers that was hailing Tinubu. That's what he was saying, that he loves Tinubu because Tinubu has political sagacity. Anyway, now political sagacity we go chop.
Interesting. I mean, and just to make that point, there's already a law that says that the NLC cannot strike in critical sectors. We already have that law, but threatening labor is not the issue now. Whether you threaten them, what are you going to do if you sack them? It's still the same thing now. They won't go to work. You still have the guys out of work. So it doesn't make any sense to threaten them or to say we're going to sack you. No, we should negotiate. That's the point we're making. And look at how I think what pushed the government to work is that maybe they had assumed that the labor would call a strike and the strike would not be as effective. But I think they were surprised by the total shutdown, and they felt that, listen, of course, no economy can survive a total shutdown, so they have to call labor in. So I hope labor understands that they have an opportunity not just to ask for wages. I don't like labor because they are one-sided, they are one lane, they just know one thing: wages.
Yes,
there are lots of things.
It's very short-sighted.
Yeah, there are lots of things we can do as regards wages. We can say, for instance, we can do hourly pay. We can talk about extending maternal leave. We can talk about having workers' insurance. There are lots of things around workers' welfare. It's not just wages, right? And they're just going to go there and request for a monetary compensation. It comes, and then they go to sleep, and nothing really is done outside the way. So I hope they would go there with a full portfolio and negotiate like adults, and hopefully we get something out of it. So, but thanks, S3. Appreciate that, yeah?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's get Mohammed. Mohammed, okay, how you doing? Hop right in.
Well done, brother. Good evening.
How you doing? Yes, you're welcome.
As always. Yeah, your question, I'm just going to try and answer your question. Can Nigeria afford 400k minimum wage, and is 100k a good number? Or what's a good number? Sorry. 400k, I think we both know we can't afford that. Whether even if the senators have done the prudent thing of slashing NAS budget and all the excess allowances to top public officials, we still won't be able to afford 400k.
Yeah,
I think Labour knows this. It would be really like Tony Ajaro. He may not be an economist, but he's been in public service for too long not to know what the numbers say. So it goes down to the whole pricing now. Like, basically, you want to buy jeans from me, I tell you 10k, you tell me no, 1k. The 10k seems ridiculous to you. Sorry, the 10k seems ridiculous to you. That's why you're saying 1k, and your 1k seems ridiculous to me, even though maybe the jeans may be 4k. So at the end of it, but what we are both trying to do is get that midpoint we know we're going to meet at closer to each other. So I want it to be as close to 10k as possible. You want it to be as close to 1k as possible. But then again, if I know as the seller that you don't have more than a certain amount of money in your pocket, I'm not going to push you further.
But to go directly, Mohammed, to go directly.
The direct thing I'm saying now is 400k is not attainable.
Correct. Yeah.
400k to me is basically roughly what do you call it? Over 200% increase, right?
Yeah.
It seems fair in the sense that that's something the government can.
We don't have that money. We don't have that money. You know, if we don't have. Honestly, we don't have that money. You know, I hope people understand what I'm saying. I hope people are getting what I'm saying. You see this 30k we are paying now. This 30k we are paying now. Even this 30k, we don't have the money to increase this 30k. This 30k we are paying. But labor
100k is because I feel like if we want the consumer, I mean, it's going to be a long time till there's another wage increase, say 5 years. But we both also know that inflation is not dead yet. Inflation is still going to keep rising. So we want a situation whereby the government can say we've increased it by X%, and it sounds good on paper, and it actually could marginally, emphasis on marginally, improve the livelihood of the common man. And the common man here is the civil servant and every other person who depends on him. That is his gate man, his cousin, his uncle that is in the village, whoever he's supporting.
Yeah.
So I think finding a way around the 100k, or even if we don't get there, but it should be close to that point, because it's not going to be a while till. That's my 2 cents on the.
I hear you. I hear you, and I'm just saying, again, I started off by saying that both Labour and the Federation are correct. Labour is correct to ask for the wages. The federal government saying they don't have the money are correct. Just the federal government has got baggage, but they're correct. I think
bad optics too.
Yes, bad optics. Yes. I think the solution is not wages. The solution is to reduce costs in Nigeria. The reason why 30,000 is outrageous as minimum wage is because a loaf of bread is now 1,500. Before, a loaf of bread, or 2K.
Depending on what you're buying.
Good. A loaf of bread used to be 10 naira, 100 naira, 200 naira, 400 naira. Now it's 1,500. But the minimum wage has stayed fixed. So the government has to pursue, and I like they've brought out their new as ASAP. Tax force plan has come out, and there are a lot of good things in that plan. I've seen a plan that I looked at that plan, I love it, completely love it. I critiqued it, but there was a particular slide there that says what they want to do. They want to cut taxes, they want to spend money on subsidizing food, they want to import food, they want to give tax credits for employers. These are things that are on the top of my list of recommendations that I've been saying for over 24 months. I love it.
Especially that tax credit for employers.
Tax credit.
I remember a tweet that we both had a back and forth on.
I love it.
I remember that particularly.
If they are able to implement what they have said on that program, there would be a fall in prices in Nigeria. If inflation comes down, then the 30k regains some value. Minimum wage has to go up. It has to go up, but I think the approach has got to be increase minimum wage, but also reduce the cost of doing and living in Nigeria, so that we meet at the middle somewhere. It has to be both of them. Mohammed, let me take some other folks. I've got some other guys here. Let's go to P.O. Lollipop.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks. I appreciate you, sir. P.O. Lollipop, you got the floor. What's that? Sheddy, you've got the floor. Your hand is up. Please get at Sheddy Nix. Okay, it's not ready yet. Let's go to Joe. What's this guy's name?
Sorry, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, you've got the floor. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm here.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. Just a few things. To be able to pay 100k or even 400k is not really the problem. And for the spending of government and the expenditures, that is equally not the problem. But the follow-up question here is, where are these expenditures going to? These spendings, are we doing spendings that are they spending to stimulate?
Your audio is cutting off, sir. I'm so sorry. Your audio is cutting off. Fix that.
To boost the economy of saying that. Why am I saying this? We keep buying the Prados and the rest of them, stuff that could be purchased here because they are manufactured here. Take, for instance, look at what happened in Delta State. I'm not even going to federal now. I'm coming down to state again. Recently, Delta State government purchased, I think, about 12 Prado Jeeps for judges. Now, my question is it that Innocent or Nord Motors cannot produce these Jeeps? And so when Labour begins to ask or make demands, it will begin to look as if these things are not realizable. Whereas they keep spending money that could be used to stimulate the economy. That is just my own input here. Because it's not about whether you're buying 20 cars or 50 cars. Or yes, it's good for you to buy cars for public officials, but where are those monies going to? That is just my own follow-up question to this. Because I think that... Yes, you want to say something?
Yes, I think we've established that the federal government is an irresponsible manager of money. The optics and the budget on both counts have failed. So I think that is a fair point, that they haven't managed this well because they've spent money, like you said, irresponsibly on importing SUVs and yachts and all that kind of stuff. I agree with you on that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that is it for me. And then there's something else you mentioned, the points that are topmost on your recommendation. I'm also trying to look at the fact that labor shouldn't just be asking for wage. I mean, right now, how many people can even afford houses for themselves? With a wage bill of 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, is it enough for someone who is retiring in the next 10, 15 years to be able to get at least a 2-bedroom flat? These are some of the things we should equally be looking at. And also look at the value chain. Look at the ripple effects. By the time you start doing this, employment too will follow, both direct and indirect jobs, as you're building for civil servants. Some other artisans, some other persons who are in business, some other persons who are in private companies. These things too will equally help to oil the economy, and the money will flow within, instead of ferrying these monies away to foreign lands for irresponsible spending. So that is just my own contribution.
I think it's well said. Again, I think you make the point again that we have to tie this in together as a whole strategy and policy. It just can't be increased salaries. It's got to be tied into other things. Completely agree with you. Don't just increase minimum wage. Ask for, okay, can we get support on housing, on health, on long-term care, on maternal leave? Tie it on together.
Exactly.
Things that reduce the cost of doing and living in Nigeria. That way, that 30,000 naira goes a lot longer. Thank you for that, Sheikh. Let me get Mark. Mark 5. Mark, what's on your mind? Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Mark, what's on your mind?
Right. Good afternoon, Carl. Good afternoon.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
Okay, great. What's on your mind?
For me, I think the answer is both ways. Mm-hmm. I think that the federal government does not have the capacity now, but I believe that they have the ability. Mm. And I'm saying that to say that the capacity now, we all know that they can't pay 400k monthly now. If they do that, they're going to be spending close to 30-50% of their budget on just salaries. More than that, Seth. Because if it times 400k by, let's say assuming everybody's taking the 1.2 million staff, civil servant staff are taking 400k alone. That's close to 4 trillion a month or something like that, or 40 billion a month, something like that, which I know. But do they have the ability? I think they have the ability. And that is what Labour is saying. Because you are showing Labour that you could spend money and you have the money. That's what you're showing Labour. Everybody is saying it. Nigerians are just tired. Nobody trusts the government. And Labour doesn't.
I think you went offline there, Marks.
Don't even trust me. Why? Everybody wants Labour to take this fight to the end, because we are all seeing that they are just spendthrifts. You can't be getting jeeps. You can't be doing a road that you don't need the road now. You are spending over 9 trillion to do the road. You can as well use that 9 trillion to pay salaries. Labour has asked that NAS should cut down their salary. I've listened to all the companies talk, and they're asking that NAS should cut down their salaries. If you want us to suffer, let's suffer together. But you can't tell us to suffer while you're enjoying. So if you want us, let us all enjoy and bring the country down. And that's what Labour is trying to do, which I know won't work. But are you saying that, do we have the capacity now to pay for 100k? No. Even 100k we don't have. To be truthful, the government does not have money. They don't have even to pay that 100k. They have not been paying 30k, talk less of 100k. How many states can pay 30k? How many states apart from maybe Lagos, Anambra, Rivers? How many states? So if they can't even pay 30k, talk less of the 100k. But I think we have the ability to do that. There are so many agencies in Nigeria that are supposed to be, they are not even supposed to have budget about spending. I know so many agencies that should not, they have billions as their budget on spending, and they should be revenue generating agencies. So we are just, in fact, I don't think we are even serious as a nation. We're not serious as a country. The people too are not even just serious as a country. If we look in what has happened in the past? Where did we go with agriculture? Where did we go with so many things that were going on? I grew up to meet milk at 30 kobo. 30 kobo. Pig milk. I bought pig milk at 30 kobo. If they collect that 400k every...
Yeah, I mean, Mark, I hear you. I think your audio went off. So if you can hear me, I hear you.
Pressure. The private sector will increase their goods to get more money from that. The hyperflation will just be so much. But they could do so many things. They could do so many things. They could create insurance scheme, not just pension scheme. Create good welfare. We're talking about the police. The police does not even having good insurance.
Okay.
The army does not even have insurance scheme.
Mark, I hear you. I mean, I like the part where you said that there should be a cut also in the expenditures of the legislature. So, like, if we're going to, let's have a cut, then have an increase in the workers. So, workers' salaries go up. The president, the legislators also cut down their salaries. I like that. The Nigerian senators and legislators are the highest paid in the entire world. Can you imagine that in Nigeria, your senator, your House of Reps are the highest paying in the entire world?
20 million.
I hear you. So Mark, I hear you. So we got to work on that. Got to work on that. Let me get Abdul Karim. Let me see. Abdul Rahim Mohammed. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, Mr. Carlo. Good evening.
Yeah, did you participate in the strike action?
No, I did not.
Gotcha. Okay. So what's your take on this minimum wage matter? I mean, you were calling from, I think is it Katsina? I think you spoke last week. Sokoto?
Yeah.
Okay. So
yes.
First, what's the minimum wage for, like, do you know, for the state workers in Sokoto? Do you know?
I don't work, but you see, as an aspiring nurse, let me say I'll soon get my license. The basic salary here is 75,000 for the nurses for a start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's slightly above the minimum wage. So, but in other places, I don't know, other sectors, I say, but for nurses, that's the starting.
Okay, super. That works. So what's your take on the topic of today? We're talking about minimum wage. I know we can't pay 400. I know we can't pay 100. But what's your take?
Well, Mr. Kalu, my take is that I think the problem here is not the wage itself. The problem is the system we are practicing today. I mean, the system needs to be dismantled. Let's go back to a system where it is the states that will fix their minimum wage. We can have the federal unified minimum wage, but states should choose to either increase or decrease from it. Let there be an economic competition between my state, for example, and another state. Let's have an hourly minimum wage. If Mr. Bankole works for 8 hours a day and the minimum wage is 1,500 naira in his state per hour, that's more than 10k a day, naira. If his state caps its hourly minimum wage within this amount or above it, will the politicians die? They won't. And I think that's what we should be really focused on. So for me, an hourly minimum wage that is competitive across the nation would be much better. And I think that's more of a productive.
Okay, so you want an hourly wage. So when you mean an hourly wage, what you're essentially saying is that means workers they can work for 2 or 3 employers if they choose to.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So then that means someone like you as a nurse, you can work for the federal ministry, you can work for the states, maybe work 8 to 4, then maybe work 4 to maybe 5 to 7, something like that. Then you're able to maximize your time. So the employers that can pay you, and on your own personal income, if you can work more, you get more. More or less, is that what you're saying, right?
Exactly, Mr. Kalu. Exactly.
Okay, all right, super. I hear you. So you also believe that if we increase minimum wage, it will shoot up the prices in, say, Sokoto, and it will cause inflation. Is that also a fear?
Exactly, Mr. Kalu. Even if we can afford the 400k they are demanding for, I think we should not give it. We should not establish it as the minimum wage. It will be catastrophic. They themselves will definitely regret it if eventually it happens. I think my call on the government is to focus on the physical side and implement the policies that will alleviate the current sufferance. Because it is the reason why people would clamor for an increase in wages, because maybe their current earnings cannot put food on their table.
All right, super. All right, thanks. I mean, that's thanks. I like the perspective. I want to just get your take from the north as well. So I like that perspective. Thank you so much. Let me get just folks. Thanks, Abdurrahman. Mr. Tunde, you're welcome. Tunde Badeniyi. Did I get that right?
Okay. Tunde Badeniyi.
Tunde, hi, how you doing? Welcome.
You're welcome. Good evening. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Okay. Just a quick one. I may retrace what some people have said, but I think first of all, the challenge we have here is not just even a challenge of minimum wage, but as has been established, it's a matter of wastage. Minimum wage or not, I think that's a priority that needs to be addressed. Wastage of state resources, how can it be addressed? Even if governments had been prudent in their own side, this conversation would have happened. So more importantly, we need to look at what can be put in place, check and balances such that let me just say that a payment structure for all government appointees, including including civil servants, public servants, more like, okay, we know this is what, because they are all public, everybody being paid by the government. And it's being paid by the government, the president, down to the secretary or the, the janitor in the ministry or in the parastatals. Let there be a public, wage structure for everybody. With that, there won't be that arbitrary increase or expenses in wages. For instance, now, as it was last year that we had that an increase was given to what the president was earning and the vice president, and then there was opera. So that also, even besides the issues of buying jeeps, buying cars, that also is an argument that Labour also can bring forward, that you guys increased your money by how many percentage? Was it not about 200%? Not too long ago. You can't tell us to continue on this same thing, and then you guys are spending money as if there is money for everybody. So I think the real challenge is, how do we deal with wastage of government funds? There should be something that a proper solution should be offered towards that end. Then this conversation may not even come up ever again. So I think that's just my opinion.
So you are going.
I'm listening. Please
so you are going more on of the austerity side to say that if we're able to maybe manage our finances better and maybe write down, sort of like institutionalize the salary scale, that will more or less solve the problem. Just by cutting down expenses. Is that where you're going towards?
Yes.
Is that going to be enough?
Listening.
Is that going to be enough?
Well, obviously not enough, but I think it's a good starting point. I think it's a good starting point.
Okay.
It's first of all, it will standardize what is being paid.
Yeah.
Another thing, one of the challenges also that we also have is the fact that parastatals and ministries are being paid differently.
Yeah.
What people in ministry are being paid, I think it's meant from what other parastatals are being paid.
Yeah.
And also, unfortunately, some agencies that shouldn't be burdened with the issue of IGR have now become, for instance, the customs. Yes, they may make some money, but their primary purpose is not to make money for Nigeria.
Gotcha.
And that's one of the reasons. And that's one of the reasons why we have so many lapses, issues with some smuggling. Some months back, there was this thing on Twitter whereby it was said that some customs officials were being involved in smuggling and all that. If some of these things can be addressed, then most of these conversations would greatly reduce. One thing I told my friends, and I think I'll say it is fact that I really don't care if this present government builds roads or does all those things. No. What we need actually is that give us a tentative plan that can be pursued for the next 10 years, and then people can build upon it. Without it, we would always resume back to these conversations over and over again. These conversations were held during the days of Basojo. We had it during the days of Jonathan. We had it during Buhari. We have it again during Tinubu. If some things are not done to standardize certain conversations, we would always repeat.
Come back to this, yeah?
We will always come back to this again.
So more like an indexing. I mean, I would say we should try to maybe index wages to something, not just leave wages to when they just try to lock it into something. Okay, I get your point. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Let's get Obina Eze. Obina, you've got the floor. Go ahead. Thank you, Tunde. Obina.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know if I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. On this issue of this minimum wage stuff, I think beyond the agitation and all that, I think it's very important that those who are, to an extent, conscious also have to speak up for us to understand the advantage and the disadvantage that lies in the pursuance of a claim that, we need to have a minimum wage increment. In fact, in the layman term, let's put it this way: when minimum wage was 18,000 naira and when it was 30,000 naira, we saw the difference between the two. We saw the cost of living at that point, and we also saw the cost of living when it was 30,000 naira. This is enough reason for every single person to understand in a layman term that the issue here is not all about increasing the value and the numeric or the numeric amount of money that is being paid to workers. It's beyond that. What is the essence of paying worker 1 million if 1 million is not enough for them to be able to meet basic? I'm not even talking of ostentatious cost of living. I'm still talking about the basic of housing, healthcare, electricity, water, education, food, and other shelter and other basic stuff. So what's the essence of it? So basically, the problem is not about how much you have been paid. The problem simply lies in the value of what they have been paid. What can it afford? So no matter how much you're talking about increase, I mean, I've never been a fan of an increment in minimum wage, and I never hide it.
So what does that mean? Are you saying that they should not increase? Just to be clear, are you saying they shouldn't increase the wage? Just to be clear, what are you saying?
Yeah, I'm saying that I'm not a fan of it. I call it a drug addict economy.
Okay, so what should they do to the workers that are like?
That does not solve any problem on the long run. Before you know it, we keep demanding for more increments.
Okay, so
that's how drug addict operates.
Okay, so walk me through. I earned 30,000. I earned it 5 years ago, and I have 2 children in school. So are you saying that I shouldn't demand for increase in minimum wage now?
What I'm saying is that it is simply a drug addict economy.
Yes, but what should I do? Should I ask for?
When they need drugs,
I hear you. I hear you. But what should I do now that costs have gone up 5 years? I have my 2 kids in school. Their school fees have gone up.
I'm sorry, I may not have the solution to tell you that it's going to be okay today, but the truth is that on the long run, because if I have 2 kids, I should be thinking about the future of my kids and how they are going to live and survive. Although I may not have given birth to a kid, but I have people I also take care of currently. I have workers under me.
No, Obina, you're being esoteric. I'm saying that like a guy has a family, his inflation is 30%. You know, his salary cannot longer feed him. Should he ask for a salary raise?
Okay, the question you're asking is not a answer that we can just put on a yes or no perspective, because it makes it look as if we are insensitive. But I'm still going to very much answer your question, which I'm saying the solution is not asking for an increment here. Because the problem for him to ask an increment in the first place is because what is being paid can no longer afford the cost of living. And let's put it this way. Now, for companies, for example, we understand how cost push inflation work. How cost push inflation work. And it is not just about demand pull alone that leads to cost push. For cost push, in a way, for example, I employed 50 people under me working in my company. And at the end of the day, the cost of production has been calculated, factoring into cognizance that the amount I pay for labor is also factored into what I calculate in the cost of into the cost of production. If I'm to increase salaries because they say we have to increase minimum wage or whatever it is, and to increase salary, at the end of the day, what's going to happen? So it's a natural phenomenon that there's going to be a natural increment in the cost of that goods and services or whatever I'm rendering. So it is not something that we need to go to this rocket to go and learn these things from. They are basic. Anybody that runs a business or that understand how to run a business will simply understand that if this is what I'm giving as the service charge or the cost of what I am producing, if I am being forced through the law to increase what I am paying, therefore you cannot expect that I will have to retain the cost or the price at which I give out my goods or my services. It will definitely have to increase. So it is something that is basic understanding that everybody should know. But I'm not being insensitive to say that, the current situation is palatable. Of course it is not. There's an analogy that we do put here. As a kid, when we're small, our parents will give us drug. Whenever we are sick, we don't know the importance of the good thing that this drug does to us because it's very bitter. We protest against it. We cry that no, I don't want drug. I want sweet because the drug is bitter. But at the end of the day, the goal of this drug is to make us get well. So, like we said, yes, we're in a trying time, we're in a very difficult situation that whatever people are earning today cannot meet whatever it is required of them to live in terms of the standard of living, or let's say a living wage, as the case may be. But like if you have been true to ourselves, we have to understand that the solution here is not about increasing the minimum wage. And this is why I fought the NLC. I was very, very disturbed and disappointed. At the beginning of the demand, they said they were going to fight for the reversal of the electricity tariff. Today, we are seeing the demand, the memo they released to the public, telling us that they agreed that something over 60,000 naira, but there's nothing that has to talk about electricity tariff. These are the things that take away the money from workers.
No, I hear you. I get you. I mean, your point. But I'm
so
just saying,
we need to face, not increment. We need to face those issues that lead to the increment in the cost of living.
I completely agree. I think I agree with you on that part. Where I disagree is you're making it a what's it called, a mutual. They're mutually beneficial. It's not we can't say because we have one the other one should go. I think we can both increase the wage and also reduce the cost of doing business. That's why I agree with you. I don't think we should say we should increase the wage. I don't think so.
You are a seasoned economist and a financial expert to a very large extent. And you understand very much that in terms of when we are looking at the value of our currency, it is not just measured internally within ourselves of what it can afford. We also measure it in comparison with all other countries within the international economic.
I don't want us to. I hear you. My brother, hold on. More points. I'm just saying, sir, that I agree with you. I'm just saying that we can't say we shouldn't increase wages and just target the cost. We have to do both of them. That's just what I'm saying. Both of them are good to do because we have to increase wages. Anyway we look at it, it has to go up. It's been up since 30,000 since how many years? More than 8 years or 20, yeah.
We can both agree to disagree. Although it's
that's
not
fine.
the same
That's
for
fine.
every state. I think in the last speaker I was talking about different states setting the boundary. I stay in Edo State, for example, and in Edo State for quite a while, I think the governor has been paid about 40,000 naira or so.
No, that's just the minimum wage. I don't
think there's anything that stops state government from increasing minimum wage for their workers, as the case may be. We just have to agree to disagree in this matter. That me personally, my own perspective, and I feel that those who have of the intellectual community need to do as a service to their society is to say the bitter truth. No, even though it's a drug, we have to understand that increasing minimum wage is not going to solve anything. It's just a drug-addicted economy that is not going to solve any problem.
All right, appreciate that. All right, thank you so much. Yeah, let's get Millie Shield. How you doing, sir? Hop right in, sir.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and it's nice to be here again.
Yeah.
The thing I want to say is I'm so disappointed in Nigerian Labour Congress because where were they when our healthcare system went into shambles? Where were they when educational system went into shambles? Where were they when security of life and properties, especially farmers, where were they when they can't go to farm? Where were they when the result of insecurity is now showing in food security? Where were they? I live outside Nigeria for about 2 decades. The minimum wage we earn here can't do nothing if we also have to be paying for what Nigerians are paying for. Look at me. Nigeria. I've never paid a dime in hospital bill since I left Nigeria because the healthcare system comes with health insurance. Although I pay taxes, like you, like everyone in Nigeria pay taxes, I pay taxes also. And you also pay taxes in Nigeria. Education. My children, they are attending world-class primary and secondary school. And since I left Nigeria, I've never paid a dime. Even school bus will come to my house and pick these kids, take them to school, and bring them back in the afternoon. I've never paid nothing. Where were the NLC when all the internal roads in Nigeria are almost in shambles? Farmers can't take their product to the market to sell at good price for us to buy. Where were they? I tell you, conservatively, I own a car, my wife owns a car, my daughter owns a car. In the last 5 years, we have not had flat tire. Like you driving on the road and boom, you have a flat tire and you are changing tires by the roadside. It has never happened. I can't remember if it has happened at all. Why? Because the roads are paved. I pay taxes, and you also pay taxes in Nigeria. Now, factoring in all this, I would have loved a situation whereby the NLC will ask for all these things I mentioned as against asking for money. Because the idea now seems like, yes, the Senate, the judiciary, the executive, they are eating the national cake. Yep. We too want to eat out of the national cake. Mm-hmm. Whereas it's not about money. It's about the overall economic disaster that we are in Nigeria. Mm. Thank you so much, everybody.
I appreciate those comments, and I completely agree. That's the point I'm trying to make to the guy that just spoke. I think we can do both of them, right? I think the NLC should not just ask for salary increment. There are lots of things that workers are going through: cost of education, cost of healthcare, how monies are spent. This is an opportunity for them because Nigerian people are behind them to demand things from the government, to demand real things from the government, not just a wage increase. Peace, I see your hand. You've got the floor. Please go ahead. First, Niger. Please go ahead. Peace. Peace, you got the floor. Please go ahead. Tobina. Mr. Tobina, Boy Tool, you've got the floor, sir. Tobina, go ahead. Hey, if you request to speak, just make sure.
All right, thank you so much for having me on board.
Yeah,
I appreciate everyone. Yeah. I just saw the question and you said, can Nigeria afford 400k minimum wage? Mm-hmm. Or is 100k okay? I'll just be straight to the point. I've listened to everyone and I see there's a queue, so everyone have time to say something. Like Ebo said, the last guy that was speaking, yeah. It's yes, Nigeria can afford 400k minimum wage. Then again, it's going to cause hyperinflation, like the other dude said, talking about everyone having 400,000 in their accounts right now,
yeah, exactly.
And then him having to increase the price of his own product too. So which means now he's going to skyrocket his own products everything that is already hyper-inflated, is going to double. So if we give out 400,000 minimum wage, everything is going to triple. So it just depends on the level of suffering. Because that 400,000, after a while, people realize that it's just chaff. It's more paper. I'm having more paper, but less products. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. So that means I'll have to be working really hard. You know what I'm saying? I'll carry 400,000, and 400,000 right now cannot still do much for me. That's the thing. That's where we are heading to. If we say we want that, Nigeria is wealthy. 400,000 is nothing. They can afford 400,000. That's one thing you all have to understand first. You understand what I'm saying? That's one thing we all have to understand.
So for you, you're looking more like
it's a wealthy nation. Where it's not a problem. The money is not a problem. I need people to understand. 200 and something million of us will be okay in that country. We'll be all right, bro. It's not a problem. But there are small challenging problems that if we do not face them, if we do not tackle them now, moving forward, we are going to reap and we are going to suffer more. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's not even the minimum wage. If taking it to 100, 200, yes, at this point it will make sense. Because you have money now in your account now, you can pay bills and do other stuff. But you have to also think about the vendors too. They're going to be like, okay, since we're now having to give you 200,000, we've got to we have to keep the prices up. Then you have to think about the limitation of products and goods. Like Ebon was saying, the terrorists and this and that, limiting the movement of produce from the farm to wholesales. You see what I'm saying? So that limitation of produce is going to they're also going to ask for their own price. Everybody's going to increase everything. You get what I'm saying? Everything is going to go up. So your 400,000 will still turn to 30,000 that was powerless.
Yeah, Tobina, and that's
yeah. There are bigger fishes to fry, and I want us to cook our mind and prepare. I love all these spaces. I have been watching and I've been coming on board, listening, and I feel every single body's opinion at some point is right. Because you can't just say, oh, this guy is wrong, he's totally wrong. You're just going to argue with yourself. We're just going to argue among ourselves. That's not the goal. You get what I'm saying? From every single thing we say, there's a certain small sense of rightness in what we say. There's a little percentage of this thing is right. That what he said is right. You see? But we also have to understand that this fight that we are fighting, we have to come together. We have to forget the Igbo man looking at the Hausa man and looking at the Yoruba man. That is not the point. The goal is enjoyment. Nigeria likes enjoyment. So we have to work towards that. That is the idea. So that we can have a mission. We can have a mission. We can say, okay, you can represent us as the minister of this. We can say, can you represent us?
All right, Toby. Tobina.
I've heard him talk. You get what I'm saying?
Tobina, I hear you. Tobina.
So that's the thing. There we have to be sure who we pick there and say, okay,
I'm gonna make
you go and represent us. You know what I'm saying? And we must hold you accountable for that.
All right.
That's what I'm looking at. This 400, we can do it. So to answer the question, we can do that 400,000. They have the money. The resources is there. The country is big. The land mass is massive. Untapped lands, it's are just there waiting to be used. But now, guess what? Terrorism is the problem.
All right, Tobin, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you could hear me, but I just need to wind up so I could get other guys in there, Tobin. I'm so sorry I had to mute you, but I was trying to get you to round up. I'm not sure you could hear me. So I appreciate your comment. Like you said, it has to be both of them. We've got to drop costs. Just increasing wages. We'll be here in 2 years' time asking for 6 million minimum wage if we don't address the core issue. The core issue is not the wages. The core issue is the economy. The economy is too inflated, too stagflated to generate growth. That's why 30,000 naira is no longer a minimum wage. We've got to address that directly. Mazi Chike Okeke, you've got the floor, sir. Mazi Chike. Mazi, please go ahead, Mazi.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Good evening, my brother Kano. Everybody listening from around the world. I've been listening to how the speakers has been enriching. Well, my own contribution is going to be to answer first the question that is the title, which is, can Nigeria afford 400,000 minimum wage after today? Or even 100,000? I've been listening to the last speaker talking about Nigeria being a very wealthy country, we having money and all that. And I want to start from the foundation that this is a myth that we have taken too far that has gotten us to where we are today, which is the fact that Nigeria is a rich country. Let me make it clear. Every single one of us as Nigerians, we in diaspora, those at home, we have contributed to selling this wrong narrative, rhetorics over time that has got us to where we are, which is that Nigeria is a wealthy country, which is that Nigeria is rich. Brothers and sisters, Nigeria is a poor country by all standards. Do we have resources? Yes. As of today, by the virtue of GDP, we are a poor country. By virtue of every single HDI, Human Development Index, we are a poor country. In fact, by virtue of distribution of resources, we are a poor country. We are not among the first 10 oil producing countries in the world. We are not. By virtue of reserves, we are a poor country. By virtue of our numbers at 200 million people, we are a poor country by the GDP that we have of less than $1 trillion. When you compare us to Indonesia, when you compare us to Brazil, when you compare us to other countries that have an equivalent population of what we have, and that takes me to productivity. But before productivity, let us ask ourselves the question. The federal workers that we have today, how did we arrive at their recruitment? Today, the governor of Rivers State is brandishing 100,000 workers to be brought into the state. Can Rivers State, as a company, pay that number of workers? How did we get to a level of a bloated civil service that their productivity, please forgive me, is next to nothing? Their productivity is nothing compared to what they are being paid. Workers come to work by 10 o'clock and close by 12. If you have had things to do with the ministry in Nigeria compared to any country in Africa and around the world, you would ask yourself, what are we doing with the number of civil service that we have? So, the government has carried on a number of workers that they do not need. My brother Kano. Our civil service, the numbers is overbloated that it needs to be reduced by more than 50%. Nigeria is the only country in the world where we are still practicing a rent-seeking feudal economy, where the government is the highest number employer in terms of employer of labor. That is why today everybody is talking about minimum wage. So foundationally, we have got things wrong. First is that our civil service is overbloated. We don't need the number that we have. We don't need the number of people that we need doing the work that they are doing. That is primary number one. We need to reform our civil service to get it to be productive and to the number. Not a governor just simply brandishing employment because he wants to please people. Not the federal government simply bringing people. Zenith Bank, First Bank cannot recruit the way federal government, state government are recruiting. They are simply bring people onto several service and federal state service just as favor to grant to people. We are all accomplices, brothers and sisters. We are all accomplices. In people listening here, someone must have purchased a civil service job for a brother, for his sister, for himself, or even there are civil servants here listening who go to work in the morning by 10 and close by 12.
Okay, Mazi.
Who are abroad.
Oh, Mazi, let's round up.
Collecting wages. So, number one is that we have to reform our civil service. Number two, productivity. Kanu says this on his pages every day. You cannot pay what Nigeria is poor today. Nigeria is very, very poor today. No company pays more than their income. So Nigeria is poor. We cannot afford 100,000. We cannot afford 400,000. People are thinking that government are spending money buying jeeps and Prado jeeps. So no, they are spending loans. If you go to 100,000, they are going to take more loans, brothers and sisters. Those loans they will take will continue to also affect
what
is available for our budget. So we do not have the amount to pay this minimum wage. However, we sympathize with what is happening. But first, let us go back to the drawing board and tackle the issues that have given rise to inflation. Otherwise, with this minimum wage, if it's increased to 100,000, there will be super inflation in Nigeria that Zimbabwe will be a child's play. What is going to happen to us? It will simply be more wages, more inflation. We are simply tackling the symptoms without tackling the key problem, which is productivity, which is governance, which is that as a people, we need to throw away tribalism and religion. We need to do our...
All right, Marcy, I'm so sorry, guys. If you take long about to mute you, I'm trying to get you to round up. I'm so sorry again. I apologize, but you just need to round up. So that's kind of getting to speak. But I did get your point. Again, is Nigeria rich? I think Nigeria is a rich country, but Nigerians are poor. That's how I always put Nigerians are a rich country.
Absolutely. That's my point. Nigeria is a rich resource country. However, we are poor because we have not good productivity, innovation, and all that. And that's my point. So, in summary, we cannot pay this right now. Let us go back to the drawing board, get things back to where they are, so that we can avoid a super inflation. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Marzi. Let's get Peace. Peace, hop right in there.
All right. Thank you very much, Carl. Thank you for all the information that you put out every day for us on this app.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. You do very well. If these governments have sense, like we used to say, we won't be where we are today. Excuse me. We won't be here because there's so much that you have given to them to copy and just paste, and then we'll change location. However, I want to correct something that the other bros just said now, that civil servants and all that. You know, this civil service thing that you're...
You're breaking up, Mr. Peace, you're breaking up. I'm not sure if you're still speaking.
And first go to the national...
Peace, fix that. Peace, your audio is bad. Fix it, then request to speak again. We didn't hear... No, we didn't hear what you said, so go ahead, or fix it and come right back. Let me get Daniel. Daniel Egbo?
Yeah, hi, Mr. Kano. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks very much for having us on this space this evening. I'm not an economist, but I think I would like to also make some things clear because I'm getting conflicting opinions tonight on this space. Mr. Kano, please, I would like a honest response to this question. Is an increment in the wages of civil servants directly responsible for our inflation in Nigeria?
No.
Thank you. Why I'm saying this is that a number of people have argued from the government influencers to a number of people on this space that when you increase civil servants,
but you are saying something different now.
High cost of things.
No, but you are saying something different. You are saying.
I remember. Yeah, sorry, wanted to say something.
Yes, you are saying. You asked me if salaries cause inflation. I said no, but then you are saying something different.
No, I'm coming. I want to say something because I'm about to argue. I just wanted to get your opinion before I.
So to be clear. Inflation has not been caused by salaries. Okay, go ahead. Let's continue.
Cool. Thank you very much. So, at least so that other people will hear that increasing the salaries of civil servants have not been the one responsible for the high inflation we're having today or high cost of goods and services today in Nigeria. If I recall vividly, a year ago, before Tinubu got into power, the naira to dollar was approximately, it was less than 1,000 naira. It was averaging around 800, 900. But in just under 1 year, we have seen dollar go as far high as, 1,900, 1,800. And I'm wondering why people are now suddenly arguing that increasing the price wages of civil servants will automatically become a problem. And I think that is not fair on the side of the civil servants. A year ago, what was the price of sachet water in the market? What is the price of fuel? What is the price of utility bills? What is the price of cassava? What is the price of yam? What is the price of vegetable? What is the price of oil? A civil servant who has, let's say, the lowest cadre of the civil service, who have been earning 30,000 naira, when a cup of rice was 100 naira, is still earning that 30,000, but the cup of rice have increased to 200, 250. So I do not like the fact that people are coming here and then trying to put the economic mishap we are suffering today in Nigeria, or trying to blame it on the NLC, or claiming that the NLC members are asking for too much.
So again, I'm just careful. I'm being very careful with. No, I want to speak. I think I'm being very careful the way you are. So let's be very, very clear, right? If you increase the salaries now to 100 or 400,000, you will cause inflation. Just to be clear, because it's the way you're going in and out of those answers. So if you increase salaries today, you will cause inflation because they're going to have monetary expansion in the economy. But as of today, where we are now,
I'm not disagreeing that. But what I'm saying is that somebody made an argument that the price of civil servants were earning 18,000, and then when it was increased to 30,000, we saw inflation. But we refuse to also acknowledge that it was government irresponsibility that led to the inflation in the first place. It is government poor policies that led to this inflation. The bad handling of the economy today is as a result of government not doing their job. It was the same government who closed the border. It was the same government who refused to invest in security, to ensure that the agricultural produce is optimal across Nigeria. For so many years, we've been having farmers being attacked left, right, and center. We've seen in most of the agricultural regions how people have been displaced. We've seen how flood have ravaged so many farms in Nigeria, but we're not seeing government respond in handling some of these problems. And today we are seeing high cost of food crops in the market. So the thing is, government should own up, play their own part, reform the system, reform the government, cut their own cost of cut the cost of governance, channel money in the right place, invest our money in the right places. Then argue with NLC to say, okay, we cannot afford to pay you this amount. Yeah, because we're broke. But then we're going to increase it proportionately, and at the same time, we're going to embark in so and so reforms. I think when we make this thing, when the government do it this way, then I believe that NLC too will stand by them or probably agree on it. And for us ordinary Nigerians, I want us to also understand something, that the responsibility of fixing this country doesn't lie solely on the NLC. People have been saying that they want NLC to champion for this and champion for that. It is not just the NLC. We need to also lend our voices on these causes and ask the government to do the right thing. We don't have to just wait for the NLC to do it, and maybe when they don't do it, we'll become aggressive, we'll start attacking them and say that, whatever thing that they're asking for, they don't deserve it. Everybody who is working in the civil service, I believe, deserves a fair share, a fair pay. But at the same time, government must also come clean and say, we have seen some of inconsistencies, maybe because at the end of the day, even NLC are they even productive in their workplace. How can we make them productive? What policies are we going to put in place to make sure that people don't cheat the system, people don't get maybe double or triple salaries, that people are doing their job when they are supposed to do it, that we employ qualified persons to do their job. I don't have to go to a civil servant, to a government office, and then somebody will start asking me for bribe.
I hear you.
They have little in their pocket.
I hear you. Daniel, I hear you.
Yeah, you're saying something.
No, I hear. I think we have to round up and move on. I completely hear you. I totally agree with the part about the, should we say, the bit by bit increase. Actually, I want the government to perhaps to anchor the wage increase to something. And as did maybe inflation. So the idea would be that as inflation goes down, the wages go up for the workers, or something like that. I just hope that the NLC understand what they are doing, not just to ask for a nominal wage increase without any anchors going forward. But I completely hear you. It's got to be a holistic solution, not just the monetary part of it. But we have to move on. I have a lot of guys with their hands up, Daniel.
It's all right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Let's get Preacher. Daniel, thank you. Preacher, you've got the floor. Preacher.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kam.
How you doing, sir?
Fine.
Okay, please go ahead. I'm doing very well, sir. Thanks for hopping in. Please go ahead.
Okay. I will come from the perspective of somebody who is also in government circle, like always say. Increasing the minimum wage above 400 or at 400 is not a bad thing. That 400 is barely $300 now. Before, when it was 30 at 2019, it was around $80-something. That $80-something now should be probably 100 and something. And this is the real purchasing power. I'll give you, for example, if you are building a house, why Nigerians are poor? If you are building a house, the cost of material before for maybe a 2-bedroom might be 5 million, but now the cost is 10 million. But the cost of labor before might be 1 million. Now it has increased marginally 1.5. And the same laborers are buying from the Nigerian market. If from the budget of this year, which was 23 trillion, the federal government wage bill is around 7 point something trillion. And they say if they increase it to 400, it should be around 9 point something. I'm not in support of 400, but if it's going to be 400, it has to be increased incrementally, not at once, because of the impact. But for 100, that 100 is supposed to be immediate. Immediately, they should do barely minimum wage 100,000. Why? We are talking about so many civil servants being inefficient. Why they are inefficient is because they are paid low.
So you are saying that the Nigerian workers are inefficient because they are paid low, or is it because they are paid low? No, is it because they are
paid low?
Okay, what if I say they are paid low because they are inefficient?
No, they are inefficient because I will give you an example. At least in Nigerian sector, there are some agencies of government that are at least in some extent you can give them 60% efficiency.
Like which one? Like which one? Yeah.
You can mention FIRS. You can mention PENCON. You can so many agencies who are doing at least. If you go, you can receive services.
Okay, mention ministry. Is there any ministry that you can mention? Which one?
That's where I'm coming. That is where I'm coming. What somebody in PENCON earns, or what somebody in FIRS earns, maybe a management level person, can pay 5 salaries of somebody who entered the same in ministry. Check it.
Yeah, but PENCOM is a specialized. Those guys are specialized people that are dealing with actual science. Same thing with FIRS. They are dealing with taxation. A ministry can be.
It's the same Nigerians.
It's not the same. It's the same skill. Is the skill level the same? Because what I hear you saying is that if we pay more, we'll get better service. Can you show me proof of that?
Listen, if you come to this Abuja,
I live in Abuja.
Yes, civil servants who are paid 30,000 to come to federal secretariat, where would they be living?
Kubwa, Gwagwalada, all those places.
Even in Kubwa, Gwagwalada, and they will be paying even in that Kubwa 2-bedroom, you will be getting like 800.
No, I hear what you're saying, but I'm asking a question.
Let me come. Human beings always think of their problem first.
I don't. I hear what you are saying. Hold on. We know where you're going to. We know what you're saying. We don't have to explain to us. We're all Nigerians. The point I'm making is that if we pay ministry people more, they will process our files faster. I doubt it. I think it's a general. I don't think it has to do with the size. I think it's a general lack of professionalism in the entire civil service in Nigeria. It's just if you go to a bank.
Do you know why the system system goes down like that. If on a private sector, I pay you good money to do something for me, which I know you don't have excuse. You have transport to come. We have money to live close by.
You can't live close by now. You can't
any
live.
inefficiency can easily be the same civil servants who works in agencies. Also, the same civil servant who works in so many ministries.
I disagree. It's the same. So if you're, it's the same Nigerians that work in Zenith. No. You keep on saying no.
The same recruitment system.
The same Nigerians that work in ministries are the same Nigerians.
The same recruitment system of bringing somebody who knows somebody, senator referring people. The same system, both in agencies and in federal secretariats.
But the agencies are not also working now. You are making it look as if these agencies are like Singapore.
Do you know why most agencies are better?
They
pay themselves.
Oga, don't talk as if we're not. We're Nigerians like you. The ministries you are talking about are not exceptional now. They are not. It's not like you're talking about Singapore civil service and Nigerian civil service. In a town of the blind, the one-eyed guy is a king. These guys are one-eyed men.
Nigerian manageable standard.
Okay, but
you can get
the same Nigeria, Zenith Bank staff, maybe they are more efficient. They are paid more because the system sacks workers that are inefficient and hires new workers. You can't sack anybody in Nigerian civil service. Or Obasanjo gave promotion exams for civil service. He sacked them, they brought them back. It's federal character.
Let me
you are promoted according to federal character. So how can you
to work today and next week they don't have job?
My brother, what I'm saying is that the situation is not. You keep saying.
The new CBN governor that entered. Do you know how many people have relieved from CBN?
Yes, many.
Who is crying about it? Is it not CBN that is regulating bank that at least doing marginally better? And it isn't Nigerians.
Yeah, but okay, let's leave that alone because we'll argue. It's an opinion, so we'll argue about that. We're not going to have it. But I've run the numbers. I don't think Nigeria can even pay 50,000 naira minimum wage.
Minimum wage?
Yes.
No, I think if according to the budget, we have 23 trillion budget.
Mm-hmm.
If they even pay 100, the wage bill won't be above.
What are you talking about, Oga? Currently, as we speak, the wage alone, not recurrent, wage alone is 44%. I'm not added debt. Wage alone, about 44%. So once we add debt, it goes more than 100. Anything you add, it goes. This is just at 30,000 naira. It's at 44. And this is only civil servants. It's not even interest though. This is only civil servants. So we won't build roads. We will not pay debt. We will not do anything with the budget apart from paying salaries of federal civil servants. That's all. And I can share the numbers with you. It's from the same federal.
Do you know the beauty of checking political office holders and their spending capacity?
How much do they spend?
Because Nigerians are not asking questions.
Okay, you know what? Okay, I hear you.
When we ask questions, we don't.
I hear you. You know, many people come to this space. Okay, I hear you. Many people come to this space to get data and facts because you know that I'll give. So I agree with you completely. I want NLC and I want the workers to get a pay raise. I'm just giving you the boundaries where we're talking about. If you scrap National Assembly today, that scrap National Assembly 100% is gone. You scrap all the ministers, all of them, all the ministers, all their aides, scrap NAS, scrap everybody. You won't get 1 trillion. You won't get 1 trillion.
The way I'm talking about political office holders is the responsibility of management.
Okay.
Not even on the part of how much they pay.
I don't want us to. I just want people to understand that
total NAS budget is 300 and something below. The problem is management of those funds.
You are getting esoteric here. The point I'm trying to make is that the country, literally, right, we have to grow the economy to pay. I give the example, if you are selling pure water, you can't pay your pure water seller 1 million naira. Whether she's the best pure water seller in the whole world, she can't earn 1 million. as selling pure water. It's not possible. That's what Nigerians are asking for. NLC is saying they are selling pure water, they want to be paid 1 million naira. Because civil service work in Nigeria is very inefficient. I can use, okay, if you get the point I'm making though. The productivity in Nigeria is measured. I'm not quoting from the air. The productivity figure. Let's move on. Preacher, we're hogging the mic, so let's move on. Let's move on. No, sir, we have to move on. I think you've made your point.
Let me round up. The truth is that the efficiency we are looking for in government work can only come when people who do that work can comfortably feed themselves, come to work, take care of their family, so that whatever you are telling them or whichever training you are giving them or whatever instruction or rules you are giving them to follow and be productive will be practical. If you don't do that, we will still be running in the same round circle.
Preacher, all you are saying is that water is wet. We know we agree with what you are saying, but water is wet. What we're asking is that where is the money going to come from? Number one, and number two is the same now. If we pay you more, you do more. Yes, but where's the money going to come from? Oga Adulo. I don't spell the name. Ademberry. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalu. And interesting conversation so far. I greet everyone. So I'm going to take off from the point of cost of governance. So I quickly want to ask Mr. Kalu, do you think the cost of governance is impactful in the inflation figure?
Currently, no.
Okay. Do you also think that remuneration drives productivity?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So what I see is a web of factors that is actually responsible for the inflation. I quite disagree with you that cost of governance, as in Nigeria today, cost of governance doesn't impact inflation, because what I see generally is a less productive economy, simply driven by remuneration to the executive. Because right now, the figures are obvious in terms of remuneration for the masses. However, remuneration to the executive is what is leading to excess money into the economy, even though the citizens are not earning much. So you have a situation where people are having access to money, just a few of the population that could afford, luxuries. And that automatically drives prices. So
I hear you. The theory you stated is correct. The theory. The reality is that inflation in Nigeria is driven by food. That's it. Food prices, not salaries. So your theory is correct in terms of that prices drive velocity of money, which causes that inflation. But it's driven in Nigeria by food, not salaries.
Right, but I'm also looking at the availability of money to drive the prices. So to drive the food prices itself. So in a situation where production is low, extremely low, and money somehow finds itself into the economy within a few seconds, prices is still going to go up. However, what I also want to consider is the fact that just like previous speakers have mentioned in other economies, because what I really also find out is that the same Nigerians or the same workers that we probably say within the system of Nigeria are not productive. But interestingly, what you find out is once we leave, we are all Nigerians, so we all know what is happening. Once we leave the shores of Nigeria, we leave that system, we move into a much more, remuneration and production-driven system. We perform. In fact, we also outperform some other African countries. We all know the story.
So the issue is then, like you've rightly said, sir, the issue is not the remuneration itself, But federal character, the fact that the civil service now is a job creation agency, the total civil service is not a place that you go for if you are first class. In Nigeria, I always tell this story. I don't know if you follow me, I tell this story. My father was one of the very, very first staff of Mobile. He told me back then, Mobile sponsored Nigerians abroad to go and learn engineering and all that. The Nigerians came back to Nigeria, left Mobile to go work for the federal government. Mobile published their name in the papers and said, we're going to sue you if you don't come and work in Mobile. They left Mobile to go work for the federal government because back then, if you work for the government, you were the highest, the elite in Nigeria. And that's when Nigeria was working. From 1960 to 1967, Nigeria was working, the economy was booming, the civil service were like professional. But now it's like you have a cousin, you're a senator, they need a job, you write a note to minister of or MDA guy of, and they give them jobs. Nothing is done there. So I don't think if you increase their salary, sir, I don't think they will perform more because the place itself is just not created to. Look at what Fashola performed. Got there.
Salary alone. I'm
Yeah.
going somewhere with the remuneration because remuneration actually covers more than salary.
I think if you pay them more, they're not going to get much out of it. That's what I'm saying. I think if you pay them more, you're not going to get a higher productivity from them because they are in Nigeria. Nigeria is not productive because the laws and the structure of Nigeria is not designed for productivity. That's the point I'm making. The private sector performs because the private sector does not follow the quote-unquote laws of Nigeria. If you go to a bank...
So within that context, Mr.
Yeah?
What I think can be done in talking about solution, short-term solution, what I think can be done is that obviously we need a reform in the public civil service.
True.
An immediate reform that would simply tie performance or productivity to remuneration. Because right now, just like you also rightly said, the negotiation figure for NLC, I don't think it's based on anything. I don't think it's based on, they just choose a random figure based on what they felt, is obtainable by the inflation figures or by the standard of living of Nigeria, what they felt will be comfortable for their workers. So I also think that shows how, I don't know, if we are serious as a people or if we are serious as a government.
So I think what they've done in NLC to say that the amount that will maybe cover inflation today might be 200,000. Then they've added another 200,000 for future inflation. So they put the shock absorber in there because they don't know when next they will meet the government to negotiate. That's because it's replacement pricing. They know that this time next year, prices are going to rise. So in doing their negotiation, they have built in price increase for themselves. So the problem is not the wage. That's again where I'm agreeing with you and other speakers. It's not the wage per se, but it's the inflation, the economy. The economy is creating future inflation. So we expect inflation to go up. Hence, we all increase our prices, including labor. If labor knew that inflation will not be 20% in 2025, they will not ask for 400,000. People say, why are you asking for 400,000? Wage increase anywhere else in the world drives inflation. In America, they study wage closely because wages drive inflation. But in Nigeria, what drives inflation is food, not wages, because many people are not employed and many are underemployed. So our structure is not really exactly how it should be. So
Mr. Carlo, let me just quickly round up. Let me
go
take
for it.
And bring my point forward, and then you can clarify whatever you think.
And let's round up. Go ahead, real quick. Yeah.
Right. So basically, what I think can be done, just like you rightly said, if based on the theory that food is the main driving factor of inflation in Nigeria, I believe there are other cost expenses to that drives the income goes to, right? So like someone mentioned, I think the government can put in place a more efficient and effective healthcare system for the workers. That would free some funds.
I agree.
Regardless of whatever increase they give
Completely
them.
agree.
That would free some funds. And also factor in future inflation figures. In other clients that I've witnessed, what they do is they put it in percentage and spread it over few number of years. So like for now, if they measure the inflation figure and the appropriate remuneration to be 3% increase, they can spread or a total of 20% increase or 20% increase, factoring in 3 years inflation figures. So they can spread that at 30% over each year and make the last year 40% or the first year 40% and the other subsequent 3 years 20% increase reach. So, because right now, where the money is going to come from is a major challenge, like you rightly said. And one of the places that I believe the money substantial amounts can come from to allow for like a spread over increase in income is also cost of governance. Cost of governance is high in Nigeria. I don't have the figure right now, but if you can give me the percentage, I'm sure it can be less than 30%.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I hear you. So I'll tell you, I completely get. So I agree with your points, and if that's the point, do you want us to call it a day? So round up. So I get you. Is that was your main point? I totally agree with it that we have got to face other non-wage cost of living issues. We've got to talk about healthcare, transportation, even education, so that we take the weight off the workers' paychecks, so that 30,000 can go further. If that's your point, I am totally on board with it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
You are welcome, sir. Let me get this gentleman who's been trying to speak. Patriots, go ahead. Sir Ike, I'll come to you next. I was looking for it right now. Patriots, go ahead. I'll come to Ike.
Yeah, hi, Carlo.
How you doing? How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I think there should be a multidimensional approach to this matter, right? For me, the primary cause of the issue, right, is, yes, you can say it's inflation, but what is driving that inflation, right? Where we are today because of the fiscal and monetary policies that have been mismanaged over time. Okay, so if you take inflation, for instance, what type of inflation are we talking about? Is it a demand pull or cost push inflation? In Nigeria, I dare say it will be cost push because it's really driven by the dollar at the end of the day. If we're not a productive economy, most of the inflation that we suffer, right, is import-oriented. It's caused by the foreign exchange and the cost, the multiplier effect of that on goods and services as the exchange keeps going up, right? So you look at things like fuel and all of that. Now, the other thing, obviously, is security, which is impacting the food inflation. So in that inflationary basket, if you look at it, food inflation is the one that if you get a hold of it, the others will tend to cool off. Now, for food inflation, it's tied to security, really. So if I were the government, right, what I would do, and relating it to NLC, first of all, you have to have short-term measures, mid-term and long-term measures. What are the short-term measures? You can't be paying 90 billion for Hajj, and today I heard that, 30 governors spent almost $1 trillion in 3 months in entertainment. You can't do that and turn around and tell the workers they should wait for it to correct the economy. So the government has to find some way of doing something today. Now, there has to be some sort of token increase, or maybe a little bit more than a token increase, right? I would suggest anything between 70 to 100,000, right? You can't go to 450,000 for obvious inflationary reasons. People will just pile it on their goods and services, and we're back to square one. So that's one of the things that you can do, is to find a way to, in the short term, figure out what to pay these people that makes sense while you're resolving the other issues. Now, how do you resolve the other issues? Right, okay, where we get our money from mostly is oil, right? So you're looking at an OPEC quota of about 1.8 billion, we're looking at exports of about 1.3. There's a 500,000 deficit. Multiply that by $80 per barrel, looking at about something in the neighborhood of $40 million a day, isn't it? That's what we're losing. Yes, you can argue that export is not all going to the government. There's a joint venture and all that. Even if you say it's 50-50, you're looking at about $20 million a day, which is our $600 million a month of added revenue. Government could sit down, first of all, but I know a lot of its oil revenues are spoken for already, and all these loans have been taken. They could restructure those debts. I agree with who the creditors are, to say, okay, listen, from every new oil that I'm able to export beyond my current quota, you have to allow me to use that to attend to some of my emergency needs while I continue to service your debt from what it is, right? And find a way to free up most of that 600,000, right? Which means that, first of all, governments have to focus on optimizing production.
Yeah, you're breaking up and you're just
optimizing production.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I said by optimizing your production, your oil production, stopping the theft, that alone, those two things that you've done right there, has really increased your foreign exchange inflows. Because don't forget, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do really is to give more value to the 30,000 or 60 or 100,000. It's not by increasing it till thy kingdom come, and then somebody's earning 5 million a day, and then the cost of a meal is ₦1 million. It doesn't make any sense. So those are the things that government needs to do. And then it can do two other critical things. One is to harmonize the remuneration system across board, the executive, the legislature, the civil, the judiciary, tied to the civil servants' pay, right? That way, everybody is tied to the same basket. If we suffer, we all suffer. If we make money, we all make money. Index the pay to the foreign exchange. What that means is that you motivate the government to continue to do better. So the more the exchange, the naira has value, the less the government has to pay. And the more you mismanage the economy and the money is going up, the more you have to pay. So the government has to be motivated to make sure that they have a check on FX. And then lastly, talking about the value of the naira, like the last speaker said, and like you have said, it's not a question of how much money I have. It's a question of what those monies are being utilized for. Education, transport, food, healthcare. If the government can sit down and work out policies across those four sectors, right, you may find out that on transportation, like you have in the UK, you're paying a paltry sum for getting around. Whether we achieve it, of course, I don't think the metro line here is a long-term thing. You can look at the CNG buses and all of that. That helps you to solve the problem. You can look at healthcare policy. Healthcare is a major issue. Now, if you have a healthcare policy where the generator of the public is keyed into certain taxes that help to redistribute the premiums that they pay across board, what you then have is that if I'm a driver and my wife is about to deliver, I'm not afraid. I don't have to go and beg for the income. I just walk into the local surgery, in quotes, like you have in the UK, and then deliver my baby through healthcare. The food, of course, I've talked about it, solving that from the security standpoint, so people go back to the farms.
Yeah, Peter, right? I hear you.
And then, of course, education, which is key. You cannot be allocating 5 billion to student loans and allocating 90 billion to Hajj. It doesn't show any seriousness. So these are the things that the government needs to do. Just to cap, because I know you need me to go. One is...
I wanted to ask a question.
Increasing the value of the naira. And like I said, and to do that, you have to increase your oil exports. You have to fight security. With those two things in place, indexing the pay across board to the foreign exchange, it's a motivating factor or demotivating factor. It affects everyone. And also, the remuneration across board has to be tied. You can't be paying people 29, 30 million a month, and then you tell them to go 30,000, and you tell me you cause inflation if you increase. Thank you.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. I just wanted to get a take on this. What would you say if a proposal came out today that says we will keep...
But I didn't get your question.
Yeah, let me ask you, right? What if there's a proposal on the table to say we'll leave the minimum wage the way it is? Maybe we would add 10,000 to it, make it 40,000, right? But what we'll do is this. We're going to credit, according to your grade level, 1 million naira into your account today for the next, so you get 1 million naira for the next 6 months, right? Then we're going to index
for the next 6 months.
Yes, 1 million naira. So let's say an average civil servant is going to get 1 million naira cash injection to his account today. Now, in the next 6 months, we are going to index the rate of growth of that, the next payment, to inflation. So the minimum wage does not go up. It goes up nominally by maybe 10,000. So it becomes 40,000 naira. Minimum wage is 40,000 naira. But the civil servants get a one-time cash injection, cost of living adjustment, one time to their account. After 6 months, we look at the inflation rate. If inflation rate has gone down or up, that determines whether we will pay 800,000 or under 1 million. Where I'm going to is that we don't lock in an increase in the payrolls. So the payroll budget it stays the way it is. Maybe we'll add the 10,000. We don't lock in that increase into the payroll. But the government now has an incentive to bring down inflation. So the government brings down inflation.
1 million you're paying them. By the time, I don't know how many civil servants you have. By the time you pay 1 million across board, that money is disposable to them, isn't it?
Yeah, even if it comes down to 2 trillion, right? It's a one time. Yeah. It doesn't go to your payroll. It's a one time. You can sell oil or ignore oil, because right now look at the ASAP bill is saying we're going to cut down on revenues. So even if you say we're going to cut down on customs and CIT for 6 months and use that money to pay a one-time cash payment to civil servants, right? Next 6 months, you look at the inflation rate. If it has gone up, you have to pay another 1 million. Where I'm trying to avoid a situation whereby we don't lock Nigeria into this high payroll cost because of high inflation today. So inflation today is 33%. Hence, we increase the payroll. It's never going to come down. So if inflation comes down to say 15%, we've already locked ourselves into a 100,000 naira wage bill, which will not come down. The numbers are not. The numbers are not going to be.
If inflation comes down, like I said if you index it,
yes,
right, because what is pushing your so if you index it to the dollar, for instance, today, but you're paying it in naira.
Yes.
What it means is that if the dollar rate is coming down, it means that your economy is becoming more productive.
Yes.
You're earning less in naira, but what you're earning is giving you more value at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's what I'm agreeing with you with.
So what you're saying could work. The only thing I'm worried about, two things, is that the 1 million all at once, 2 trillion coming to this economy, and it's not coming to just a dedicated sector where it's okay, I'm spending it on health or something. It's coming into the hands of people. People are going to start spending, right? And then the one that is consistent, that is recurring, that's 10,000. Is barely enough to make a difference.
No, they might not spend. So you see where I'm going to. You see where I'm going to with this. They might not spend that money because it's not a salary. It's if I get $1 million today, I'm going to spend. Of course, I have bills, but because it's not my salary, it's not going to come next month. So they might say, I'm going to save this money because I'm not going to get it again. It's not coming through your salary. It doesn't increase your salary. It's to take care of your child wants to go to school. Your salary can't afford that. You pay for. We can do vouchers. We don't have to do cash.
Okay.
We can do vouchers.
So a float that takes care
of the large bills. Pay your rent, for instance.
Those things that we want to take out of the payroll, like
yes,
things we talked about, education and transport and all that.
Yes,
so
to avoid
contingent expense. Not
correct.
Everyone will spend it.
Correct.
And there are rules behind drawing down.
Correct.
Yes,
to avoid increasing the wage bill.
There has to be a way to tie everybody's lot together and tie it to the performance in the economy. Even the civil servants that we're talking about, a lot of them are not productive, and I'm not blaming them for that. It's the government's way of hiring everyone, my brother, my sister, my in-laws. You're not tooling them, you're not skilling them, you just pour them in there and you pay them. What will then happen is that when government has to deal with paying more efficient wages, they'll start recruiting better, right? And the reason why government cannot pay today is simple. The people are not productive. If you're producing enough, you have the money to pay. They are not productive, so they are like a weight, and government is having to do all this money. Not their fault, because that's the line the government has told from the beginning.
All right, that's fine. No problem. I just want to get a take on that. Real good conversation, sir. Thank you so much. Let me take...
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sir Ikes, ITJ20, IKTJ20.
Thank you for calling me on. I want to quickly say something. If government should increase minimum wage, for instance, let's say at the moment Nigerians are receiving 30,000 as minimum wage, and central bank is also increasing the MPR, which is increasing interest rate because they feel there is too much money in the economy. So, if government should even increase the minimum wage by 50%, let's say 60,000, the central bank is also going to increase the MPR to also remove money from the economy. So, we'll also keep on money around circle. So it's like government is giving the money out with one hand, and the central bank is also trying to tighten up the economy to also.
Why do you think they want to take the MPR away from the CBN?
Okay, maybe that might be one of the reasons. But what I'm trying to say in essence is either they take it away or they leave it. If they increase the minimum wage by 50%, let's say 60,000. There's going to be another hyperinflation in the economy. If they allow CBN to run independently, CBN is also going to increase interest rate. At the end, it's just like increasing the minimum wage on paper, but the real effect is not in the economy. So that's another thing. I mean, I'm not in support of them increasing minimum wage. The reason being that, like what you said, they should not put Nigeria in this position of, say, being a high earner. Maybe at the end of it, taking it to 100,000, and maybe by tomorrow, next year, inflation comes down. They are not going to reduce that minimum wage again. What I would suggest is, since the high cost of inflation, the major cost of inflation is household item or food, is it not possible for government to do something? Maybe remove the ban on most household item, maybe the ban on food like rice importation and everything. Remove it for, let's say, a window period until they are able to maybe secure or provide security for Nigerians to go back to their farm until we are self-sufficient in agriculture. Government should remove all the unnecessary ban in agricultural products and other household items so that, at least for the meantime,
I think they've done it now. They have this new. They have this new thing.
We actually drive down inflation in household item and agricultural products, and also fight inflation. Meanwhile, allow, probably if they're increasing the minimum wage, they should just tip it up a bit. That's my own suggestion.
I think they have this new ASAP thing that they want to do that really cuts down a lot of the fees and taxes. They say they want to do it. Let's see if they will do it. But on paper, it's very, very good if they can get that done. Even if it's 50% of cutting down taxes, cutting down VAT, cutting down duty. That's what they say they want to do on their ASAP policy. If they can do that, that reduces the cost in the economy. That means that we don't have to increase wages that much. I'm just scared about this locking in wage increase into the budget. I'm really, really scared about it, that we lock it in and tomorrow, even inflation comes down, those wages are still locked in. I'm just scared about that personally. All right.
Yeah, it will be better because at the end of it, the long and short is the value of the money. So if 30,000 naira is able to provide for an average household in Nigeria, there is no excess of increasing the minimum wage. So if government is able to reduce tax and also, I think, lifting ban in the importation of some household item, I think that will be okay instead of increasing the minimum wage. Because even if they increase the minimum wage to 100,000 naira, the inflation is also going to go up, and in 2 years' time, people are still going to start screaming that the money is no longer enough for them. And in this whole minimum wage issue, we are only considering civil servants. There are other people that are also being affected by the current situation of the economy, and even the private sectors, small and micro scale industry that cannot even afford it. So even if they increase their minimum wage, other people will also be in the same dilemma of they are not able to afford the same minimum wage. And what would happen to those category of people?
Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. Dr. Berry, thank you so much, Ike. I appreciate the comments. Doctor, how are you doing?
How are you, my brother?
Fine. Lots of things to talk about. Minimum wage, to talk about that. I'm not sure if you have seen the new the new fast track tax force policy. I don't know if you've seen it, and you can talk about it as well.
Yes, I've seen it, and even the Federal Minister of the coordinating minister's document on how they want to, revamp the economy and their interventions and all those stuff. So I've seen some of their intervention and some of their documentations. It's very funny, the kind of things that are trying to drive. They are not addressing the fundamental issues. They are not addressing the fundamental issues, the problems we have in Nigeria. And what are the fundamental issues? Some of you listed it, insecurity. If we don't tackle insecurity and move the farmers back to work, we are just wasting our time. Every intervention, even if we import food today, we're still going not to work. Because one, the food inflation we're talking about here are driven by many factors. They are driven by energy cost. They are driven by forex volatility and instability. And above all things, they are driven by insecurity. As of today, Nigeria food production is down by about 60%. And it's going to go further down because most of the agric belt are not working because people are... I'll give you an example. I've always made this example. My mom used to stay in the village. And for the period my mom used to stay in the village, she used to pay people to help her cultivate her farm. She has over 5 hectares of cashew plantation, including the ones I bought for her recently. For the past 2 years, that 6 hectares my mom used to cultivate have been taken out of the ecosystem. And there are many people whose mothers have left the village who are no longer. So, and that 6 hectares will never be cultivated until insecurity is sorted out in the southeast. We are not even talking about the other hotbeds like the northeast, the northwest, and the government of the day. They are not doing anything to tackle this insecurity. There is no effort. The truth is, the current security architecture of Nigeria has failed and have failed woefully. There is no amount of money you will pump to the police, to the DSS, to the Navy, to the Air Force, to the Army, with the current rot in the system that will help us to tackle insecurity. The current architecture has been compromised massively. And I say it to everybody who cares to listen. If you look at the structure of Nigeria, from 1960 to 1966, we never had anything like banditry, insurgency, militancy, criminality, all the kind of things we have, even kidnapping. In fact, somebody even reminded me something. He said, do you know that between 1967 to 1970, in the old eastern Nigeria, even during the Civil War, when arms were in the hand of all manner of human beings because they wanted to defend themselves, yet we never had issues of kidnapping, issues of armed robbery, because people understood the value of life. The system wasn't corrupted the way it is corrupted now. So we must tackle the fundamental issues. Even if you increase the wages of civil servants to 100,000 naira today, or even to 500,000 naira today, I tell you, in 3-6 months, inflation will catch up with them. And they will come back to square one. Why are we where we are today? We removed subsidy without fixing the refineries to enable us to refine what we produce here. Output had been down since 2015, from the height of 2.4 million barrels a day to less than 1 million. Now it is 1.2, 1.3. They're even contesting with OPEC. When they say they've done 1.8, OPEC says it is 1.3. And Nigeria has capacity to do 2.5 million barrels if we reopen and re-enter most of the existing wells, because the new investments are coming in. And we are not even doing anything to attract new investment by, look at the regulation there. In Angola, in other places, 2 regulations. In Nigeria, over 20 regulatory agencies. I'll give you an example. Across the escravos, in the Warri area, Mobile has almost about, platforms, almost about 180 to, I can't remember the number, but Mobile consumes about 45,000 metric tons of diesel in their platforms to be able to drill crude oil. But do you know, for the past 3 years, NMDPRA have refused to approve backloading facilities for depots within that Warri axis to enable them backload vessels that will supply HGO to the platforms to be able to drill crude oil. For whatever is, and I'm telling you what I know. There have been interventions left and the same guys Buhari put in there. I don't know, these guys reason from their anus. I'm trying to use that word. They've refused every entreaty. have been made to them. This platform, it is one of the major resources they need to be able to fire the power plant within those platforms to even power the drilling machines is diesel. And the cost of moving diesel, if you allow those backloading facilities, it will reduce their cost of moving those diesel by 50%. But these guys have refused. And a lot of other infractions, a lot of other awareness in that industry. And you know the irony of it all. There is no end in sight. The criminality, the inefficiency, the wicked, they are so brazen about it. You know, I know under Obasanjo, the kind of madness we have in the oil and gas industry wouldn't have been there. Okay, look at the issue. In July 2023, after they removed subsidy, they told us, consumption had come down to less than 40 million liters a day. I remember that from the year 2000 to year 2009, at a time when we had over 4 million middle class population of Nigerians who were earning almost $120,000 per annum. At a time, purchasing power of Nigerians were high. Nigeria never consumed anything more than 28 million liters of PMS a day. It was under Buhari that the numbers went to 55, 65 million liters a day, 73 million liters a day, 93 million. If at a time it was more around 2 million liters a day, go and fact check me. And subsidies were being paid on this bogus to ghost import. These were ways they were using to siphon money. And in fact, these guys cleared Nigeria.
So
what will I expect?
So, Doc, this issue of subsidy coming back, I mean, we knew it was back, but now they've put it back in front and center. We're going to pay subsidy in 2004. It's right there in the paperwork.
Carlo, if we are paying subsidy for actual consumption, it's a different ballgame. Carlo, you guys do not even understand the depth of the rot. We are not just paying subsidy on the real consumption. We are paying subsidy on top of bogus criminal consumption that never even came into the country. Carlo, February 28, 2020, DPR told us that we are consuming 98.5 million. Carlo, is not true. Carlo, take time to go and look at the U.S. Energy Administrative Agency, their website. They have a record of daily consumption of PMS gasoline in every country, and their record is 98% accurate. Do you know why? Because most of the marketers who ship in products to different countries have submit their records to some of these agencies. It's only in Nigeria that the records are different from what they have in every other places. Carlo, they told us in July 2023 that the consumption came down to 40 million liters. Now go and check the records between January and February, 59 days. The same NNPC told us that they spent $2.16 billion importing 3.6 billion liters of PMS at an average rate of 6.1 to 61 million liters a day. Carlo, we do not consume 40 million liters a day in Nigeria. Go ask anybody. There's nobody, only very few people does food tank in Nigeria. So there have not been independent inquest. If you bring a KPMG or any independent forensic investigator, what they will find, but you know, the massive corruption, the massive rot there, they can bribe even angels if care is not taken. And everybody shuts up, nobody's talking. See, refineries are not working. They promised us, they've been kicking the can down the road. It was December. Carl, I want to ask you this question. If you have a refinery that you funded, you have a board, you have a management, and the shareholders are waiting for it to start producing, so they will end dividend, and they keep on, what do you think you will do? You will have cleared everybody. I know sometimes I begin to wonder, is there any magic wand? Is there any spell these guys have over the whole of Nigeria that nobody's even asking the right question? So until we tackle insecurity, until we tackle the rots across the whole regulatory space, across the whole valley, and we have told them what to do. If you want to make the NNPC to become efficient like the Petrobras and the Aramco, very simple. Federal government, they can do this within 6 months. So, the federal government will decide to appoint a JP Morgan Chase, a Bank of America Merrill Lynch, even use Chapo here, and establish IBTC, capital market to back them up. They decide today they want to do a hybrid of divestment of 60% of NNPC, federal government owns NNPC, an IPO of $20 billion. Carlo, that will attract over $60 billion into this economy. If they do this and then list it on the floor of the Nigeria Stock Exchange, I tell you, go and market somewhere. Investors will flood this market. Nigeria takes the, and I will tell you, that refinery that have not been working for 25 years, if they hand those refineries to the new investors, federal government of Nigeria, it becomes like the LNG. The divorce from political manipulation of those in the public sector. I tell you, those refineries will work in 6 months.
I hear you. I hear you.
The problem is, they know what to do. They will not do it. On the issue of insecurity, we've advised them what to do. The only people that can protect themselves are the people, indigenous people. And it's a very simple thing. The federal government does not need to. They spent $28 billion in 8 years, with $8 billion on insecurity. The thing moved from northeast to every part of. If they can bring just $3.7 billion only, they can borrow it. What is the arrangement? In every electoral ward in Nigeria, 8,800 electoral ward. Pick 100 people from every ward. Let the communities donate. Anambra did it under P2B. Let the communities choose they know the good. Did you listen to Cubana Chief Priest, what he said on BBC Igbo? Exactly the same sentiment. If you pick 200 from every electoral ward, we will have 880,900 full soldiers. Give them robust training. Arm them maximally, because lawful terror, the terms of lawful terror. Get a nursing and nod to provide us with, in every local government area, 3 to 4 armored personnel carriers. Post these guys back to their communities, not the kind of centrally compromised things we are running with the police and army.
All right, Doc.
The bandits are embedded within them.
Doc.
These guys back to their communities. Let me tell you what happened. If in Okigwe, we have 11 wards. If you post 1,100 sons of Okigwe, with AK-47 for armored personnel carriers, let me tell you, Carlo, they've not born the criminal that will do it at home in Okigwe. They've not born the fan. They will go into the bush and clear everything. In 6 months, every part of Nigeria will become so secure that you'll be wondering what happened to the bandits. Because these guys have filial connection with them people. Nobody will want his father, his mother, his brothers to be kidnapped. And the kidnappers and the criminals are having their way because those who are saddled under the current security architecture to chase them away are in bed with them. And this is the truth. So let them keep on wasting their time doing submitting plan of what they want to do until they tackle the elephant in the room. Adjust the whole security architecture to hand over security back to the communities. In this way, we have suggested to them that will not even cost us anything. And then fix the rot in the oil and gas industry. Once we do it, people go back to farm. People can do 24/7 economic activities. Carlo, this country can easily provide 98% food sufficiency. This country can easily generate and export nothing less than $200-300 billion.
Doc, I hear you. Doc, completely hear you. I would just want us to get all the information because you're giving us a lot of information. I want people to catch their breath and understand what you're saying. It's a lot, yeah. So it's.
I need the mic, Sha.
No problem, Doc. I mean, it's always a pleasure to hear the data, the facts, and the personal experience when you ever come to space. So always appreciate it. You say a lot, and I also learn from you on that. Let me get Ogene Caro. Hey guys, we've been here, so we're going to wind down. I think Ogene Caro, you got the floor, sir. Please go ahead, Ogene.
Okay. Everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to jump directly to the question.
The questions, yeah, go for it, man.
To the topic of this question. Okay. So I do not think that 400,000 is feasible. 100,000 maybe, like many speakers have said, maybe between 70 and 100. So I think that we definitely have to do something about it, increasing the wage. A lot of us focus on one side of it. Either you don't want a minimum wage or you believe that they should increase it. But the problem is, like most people have said, is multifaceted. It's not just one side. Two things can be true at once. We can have to increase the minimum wage. We can also have to tackle other issues. We can't do that at the same time. While we say we tackle insecurity, we tackle production of oil, the common man or the minimum earner will not wait for all those things. They will want to see an impact in their wage. The president made that statement, subsidy is gone last year, and it had a lot of impact. It tripled the cost of transportation, tripled or more than triple cost of goods for the common earner. And then their earning did not increase. Up till now, it did not increase. We cannot say that they should not be like that. And then we keep defending it that it's going to cause inflation, Makes no sense. I think that, yes, we should tackle that. Increase the minimum wage to a reasonable figure, while we are also tackling other aspects of it. A lot of people have said Nigeria is rich, this, that. I don't think we have that much. Like, you've broken it down. It's going to, even taking it to 60%, to 60,000, it's going to triple, it's going to double the wage provision in the budget. We are not productive enough. The little that we are producing, the political class is squandering it, doing a lot of budget for themselves, 200 billion for cars and whatnot.
All right.
So we have to start from somewhere.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Increase the wage while we're tackling other things.
All right, folks. Gotcha. All right, guys. I mean, it's a great topic. We're going to wind down. We're going to about 3 guys I want to speak. We'll take their comments. We'll wind down. I think we've gotten the gist of what it's all about. I did this space just on purpose, just to gauge the sentiments of folks. But guys, just hear me out. I don't even this 30k we are paying now, we are struggling to pay it. Even if you add 10k to that payroll, we're going to struggle. I am just scared that Nigeria is going to add to its payroll, lock it in, and we won't be able to afford it even in 2 years' time unless we grow the economy. I'm just worried that.
So, Carlos, sorry, I'm not interjecting. Let me tell Carlos, we can pay 100,000, but on one condition. See, let me tell you, Carlos, 60% of whatever you see are looted and stolen. The civil servants, they know this thing. 95% of them are not dependent on 30%, 30,000. Let me be honest with you. They are all part of the looting gang. If they can plug the leakages, stop the monies, customs in Nigeria can easily generate nothing less than $10 billion annually, even based on the current rate. But what gets in is less than $3 billion. $7 billion enters private pocket. If they can cut the leakages, we can pay 100,000 and there will be no inflation.
I mean, good point, Doc. Good point that we can cut the waste and we get more revenues in. But essentially, it's still the economy that generates that revenue. And again, I'm worried that the mistake we did in Doji was to increase the payroll cost. That's a fixed cost because we're getting variable revenues. So right now, again, we have a situation whereby our revenues are variable. We have customs, we have crude oil. We still have today low tax revenues. I'm just worried that we don't go lock in fixed costs, i.e. personnel costs, but we don't get the wealth side coming. So again, we then lose the gains of the subsidy removal. Mr. Kinshaw, you've got the floor. Kingshoes, how does it up? Please go ahead. Kingshoes_OH. That's you, sir. Kingshoes. Vehement, please go ahead. Vehement.
Yeah, hello, good evening.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, good evening.
Yeah, good.
So I know we're winding down, so I'll just go straight to the point because a lot of people have said bits and pieces of the things I would like to have said. For me, the way I see it, the Nigerian Labour, the NLC, they are not an economic team. The NLC, they are not a political, outfit. The NLC represents, the working class Nigerians, cut across all sectors. So to me, I feel it to be gaslighting to say, oh, Nigeria cannot pay 400k. That doesn't really concern the average civil servant on the road, because what they say is the perception is reality. When you see the presidency spending money on yachts, when you see the budget of NAS, what they budgeted for themselves, talking about 10 billion naira for car park, 3 billion naira for library, over 200 billion naira for what they budgeted for themselves as for their own pays and all that. You don't expect the average worker on the road to say, "Oh, there's no money." So I feel it should not be. Nobody should tell the Labour Party that, "Oh, Nigeria can't pay 400k." What they are responsible for, they're responsible for, the people that the interest of the people that they protect, which is the Nigerian worker. That's the interest they're protecting. So as you have said, as we have heard, that they've done their own calculations based on the current rate of inflation and based on what the inflation will look like in the next 1 year. And this is what they have come up with. So everything falls back to the government of the day. If the government of the day has shown some form of promise as to what they are plan to do and how they plan to tackle inflation and insecurity and all that, then they would have been able to reason better with the NLC. But to me, the NLC serves as a form of opposition, to the government, by taking into consideration the interest of the everyday worker. So they have no business of what the government can pay or what the government can pay based on what they are seeing on their own end. So this just exposes the cluelessness and incompetence of the government of the day. For them, they are supposed to be able to. This issue is to me is a very simple thing to solve with the NLC if they actually have a clear plan or economic plan to boost the economy again. It's something that they can have. It's a conversation that they can have and they should be able to have. But then we are where we are. So I support the NLC for going for what they want to go for. So I think it's left for the government of the day to be able to come to a common ground and show prospect. That okay, these are places they are working on. To boost productivity and to boost the economy. And if they show those clear working signs, I believe they can come to a compromise. But then, reality, perception is reality. The government of the day has not shown that there is no money.
Yeah, and that's the point. Again, that's the point, right? That both sides are correct. The NLC is correct. The government is correct. That's just the real point here. The NLC is totally correct to ask for 400,000. I don't blame them. They should go for it. But the government, again, just can't pay that money. But both sides are correct. It's just, I'm just worried as the numbers don't look good for me. Because to be clear, this is civil servant, so it won't get to you. If you work for a private guy, you have to go get your own money. I don't want all the money of Nigeria going to pay civil servants. I wanted to go to build roads. I wanted to go to build hospitals, not just to civil servants. That's why I'm really taking my point, just to make that point clear. So we've got about 3 guys, and then we'll just close down. We've got to move on, yeah? I think let you speak, yeah? You okay, Vehement? Okay. So I've got Gaboni.
Yeah, Carlo, thanks for the opportunity. There are some points I really want to highlight in this. Like you said, NLC is, they are not wrong in demanding for what they are demanding, because when you look at the amount these senators and House of Rep are collecting, it is just like we're in a family. And your father is, as the head of the house, you are favoring one of your sons against the other. The others will scream and say, that is not fair. We are all, part of this family. So why the favoritism? You get? Because as far as I'm concerned, it is wickedness that this. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, it is wickedness that some people will collect such a humongous amount of money without doing, without working for it literally. Then others will be paid peanuts. And these people that collect this humongous amount of money, there's nothing like them being owed salary. Now I want to ask, like I said, like I always tell people, it is all about the will to do the right thing. It is just the will to do the right thing. If you see that, I think it was on your space I said this thing the other time, if you see that your company is not doing well, if you see that your company is going bad, why not re-entrench staff? Nigeria is in a critical situation. We see that we are in a critical situation. Workers need to be paid a living, they need to be paid enough money
to take care of them. Because if you don't give them enough money to take care of them, that is when all this corruption will start very, very well. So I think Labour should not go lower than 100,000 minimum. Anything lower than that is just a waste of everything, complete waste of everything. They should not go lower.
Okay, so
if the government if the government want to be serious, they should cut down from the salaries of this legislature. That is what I have to say on this. I have nothing else to say about.
Real quick, so I wind it up real quick.
Doc Obiari was saying about most of these civil servants being corrupt, stealing money. I think I have a kind of a solution to this. If, like I said, it is the willpower. Why not governments, like you take now for the health sector, for nurses and doctors, why not government contract agencies to give them workers for different parastatals. Contract agencies. What you are basing your concern is the agency. Tell them how many staff you need for this parastatal, how many staff you need for this. So the people you are holding accountable is the head of those agencies. Now, when the staff those staff are not doing well, when the Nigerian people complain about the staff, you don't go and be looking for one worker. It is the agency you own. If the complaint is too much, you collect the contract from them, give to another person. Your business is not about staff anymore. The government will take too many things.
Okay, all right.
Just like doing the NHS, there's just a body. It's an agency. You have an agency. You know the contractors you have, people that are giving you workers.
Okay.
You know the way.
So we have to move on, sir.
Solve that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. Let's get Kinsho, and then Eze, and then we'll call today. Kinsho and Eze, and then we'll call today. Kinsho, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah. First and foremost, let me say good evening, everybody. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I greet everybody. Uncle Obiora, thank you very much. Your insight, your analysis, the boss mind. When I hear you talk to you, I just get to sit down so you listen to you very well. Straight to the matter. To me, I just believe, I know for expect.
I'm not hearing you, Kinsho. I'm not hearing you. All right, let's get Eze. VIP wants to go for it, sir. VIP.
Hi, Carlo. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Kinsho, we didn't hear you at all.
This country can afford 100,000, 400,000 minimum wage. We cannot. If we do it, all of this country will turn to Zimbabwe. You could use like 5,000 till they drink pure water. So all this unnecessary stress with the carriers they put, until we shut this country down, demand for good governance. Now play with the play. Thank you.
All right, well said, sir. Thank you so much. We can afford 400,000 and all that. VIP wants to take us home. What's your take? 400,000, 100,000, can we afford it? I say we can't afford either of them. I say we should try to reduce the size of we should grow the economy so the economy can create wealth and reduce the inflation. So that way, even the 30, 40 now becomes a real 30,000, not this deflated thing that we have. What's your take, sir?
Yeah, Carlo, good evening. Let me start on existing protocol. I know you're winding down. I'm just going to be as short as possible. Carlo, let me summarize this. Carlo, you are the only person, you and a few other analysts. Let me rephrase. You and a few other analysts come the enemy when you say federal government cannot afford this or afford that. You know why? Because you guys are the only persons that actually consider economic principles when it comes to this issue. One, the guys in government, the guys in management, they never considered economic principles when they do what they do that has led to inflation. Insecurity did not start today. It started about over 8 years ago. The government did not consider didn't consider economic principles and impact that it's going to have when we don't fix roads so that food can get from point A to point B. We don't consider economic principles. when we spend like as if Bill Gates is our gate man. Like the Nigerian government, we don't consider economic principles. I want to say, from my own understanding, NLC demand has not how would I say it? Economic principle doesn't come into NLC demand. NLC demand is not motivated by necessarily the suffering of Nigerians. NLC is more like, let us checkmate these guys. Let us throw up this conversation. Let's start having this conversation. If you think we are going to burn down this house because we are demanding for XYZ amount of money, then consider what you're doing, because you've already sunk the house. The ship is already under the water. So if you think we are going to end the remaining part of it because we are demanding something, we want you to consider what you're saying. So economic principle doesn't come into all this. Analysts are the only ones that bring in economic principles. The day government officials will start thinking the economic impacts of their decisions, actions, and inactions, then Nigeria will work. That's how I see it. Thank you.
Yeah, but again, that's the whole point of being a quote unquote analyst, right? Because you have to look at things, numbers and figures, and give your analytical position. You know, when I talk, lots of people here don't agree with me. Some agree with me. Some are opposition. Some are government. But the point is that I always try to at least give you the, should we say, the working material. This is the situation. I give you my opinion and you can run with it. And many times what I say eventually comes round, you know. So the point must be made. I get what NLC is doing. I think everybody in Nigeria understands what NLC is doing. Even the government understands what NLC is doing. NLC is saying, you guys have mismanaged the treasury. So let us also join you in mismanaging the treasury. I gave an analogy earlier today. I was doing an interview. The road is bad. The road is bad. So NLC is saying, buy all of us an SUV. The answer should be fix the road, buy us a bus so that we can get on that bus. It's cheaper for us. We don't spend money. But NLC is saying, no. You bought yourself an SUV. Also buy us an SUV. If they buy themselves SUVs, there's no money left for fuel, for nothing. And it's the other guys that are not in the civil service that are going to suffer. If Nigeria, first of all, I think 400,000, we all know it's negotiation. There's no way we can pay 400. There's no way. Even though $400 is just $285. 400,000 naira is just $285. Nigeria should be able to pay $285 a month. We should be, but we can't because the economy is simply too poor, too unproductive. Again, the analogy, if you have a girl or a boy selling pure water, you cannot pay them $1 million naira salary. It's just not going to happen. No matter how productive they are, right? The pure water business cannot support 1 million a month salary. Just like Nigeria can't support 400,000 salary today. Tomorrow maybe, but today we can't support it. That's just how I see it, right? So we've got to be very careful. And I know Nigeria, because the politicians are under pressure, there's a temptation for them to add some crazy amount to the wage. If you add that amount to the wage, it's never ever going to go off. So we'll then have a wage bill that is permanently bloated unless you fire workers. And then when we then get maybe an increase in oil prices or we get an increase in oil exports, the revenues don't now flow to the people, but to the civil servants, which are people, I get it, but it doesn't flow everywhere. So somebody's going to say, but Carlo, how is that our business? The government has spent, I get it. But we have to still point it out that it's a bad idea to increase the fixed cost in an economy that relies on variable cost. Nigeria is an oil economy. We rely on the net exports of crude oil to fund ourselves. That's the money comes from crude oil, as is FX, it comes from VAT, it comes from CIT, corporate income tax. That's where we are getting our money from, right? Anything happens to oil prices, we suffer. Anything happens to remittances, we suffer. Oil is already dipping. So the focus for me, I would like a situation where we are able to give this money to the workers. Even this 400,000, I want us to give it to them, but it shouldn't go to the wage bill. It should not lock into the pay stub. We can say we're going to pay you this money for the next 6 months, and we're going to bring down inflation. But we'll sign a contract. If we bring down inflation, we will take this money away because we don't now need 400,000 because we've brought down inflation, so that the whatever we then pay, whether it's going to be 50 or 60, can then compensate for the 400,000, because 400,000 will now be worth more if there is no inflation. The reason why they want 400 is because inflation is 33%. If inflation gets to 10%, then they don't need 400,000. Might need 200 or 100. That's the point I'm making. We've got to refocus the conversation away from minimum wage towards growing the economy. If we grow the economy, the government can tax more. We can cut down on the waste, the theft, cut down, and we can pay even more workers a higher salary. But I'm just scared that right now the government's on the ropes and they're going to cave. Again, not depending on the government, guys, but we have to say it as it is. That's not what I'm saying, because if we do this now and inflation doubles, they'll say, you didn't say it. I'm saying it now. Let's be very careful about what we agree to. We agreed ASU. Remember this whole ASU issue was because somebody agreed with ASU and signed an agreement with ASU that ASU was going to get billions every year. And that agreement, or that thing that was signed, was never ever going to be implemented. It was dead from the day it was signed, because there's no way you would take 25% of the budget and give to ASU. But somebody signed it, the president signed it, legal signed it. And that's why I've been having issues with ASU from when it was signed till today. Because ASU has a signed federal government document saying that they will get this money. But in reality, there is no way in this heaven that you are going to take 25% of the total revenues of Nigeria and give to only universities, not just universities. And we're going to make the same mistake here, I fear, where we go and sign something because we want people to go off the streets, because it's bad politics, and Nigeria would later on regret it. This is the point I'm making. Again, I want the workers, if we can pay them 500,000, pay them, but don't lock it in as salaries. Call it allowance. Call it whatever you want to call it. Pay them. It will cost you trillions, but don't put it on the wage bill. So that if the government can sign, okay, we have 2 years. This is 2024. By 2026, we're going to look at the inflation rate. If the inflation rate comes down from 33% to 15%, we reduce that wage that we're going to pay you. That's what I would prefer. So the workers get the money, but it's not locked in that we can't remove it. That way, everybody wins. The government wins, the workers win, even Nigeria win. That's just my take, guys. So we had a very, very interesting discussion with you all. Been here nearly 2 hours and 30 minutes. I appreciate you guys for staying this long with us. It's a great topic to have, and I thank you for all the suggestions. Every comment today was packed full of knowledge. Every comment today, because of course it affects us. We don't know someone working in government or someone and all that. So every comment was packed full, and I do appreciate it. So guys, next Sunday, which we normally meet usually, we're bringing in some finances. We're talking about structuring African capital markets for better support, sustainable support, and green investing. So we're going to bring in investment bankers to talk about structuring the African capital markets to target green investments. It's going to be very interesting. Things you haven't been thought about, maybe new opportunities for you. If you can join Sunday, 7 p.m., we're going to be here as well to talk about that. So on that note, I apologize for those that wanted to speak after we had just closed down. I just tried to, it's not a normal day, but I appreciate you guys requesting to speak. I hope I'll see you back here on Sunday. Don't forget, guys, I still got my book up. Let's Talk About Your Money, available on Amazon and on Roving Heights. Do get it. It will bless you. Give it away as a friend, as a gift to a friend and all that, and you will be doing a good thing. On that note, folks, let me let you guys go. Enjoy the rest of your week. It's going to be well. There's a new economic plan out by the federal government. I've analyzed it. If they can implement that plan, the word is if they can implement that plan, things will start to turn around. The problem with the Tinubu administration is implementation. They removed subsidy. They didn't implement palliatives well. They implemented float. They didn't do it properly. They left 44 items still in there. This policy on paper is very, very good. It's tax cuts. It's removal of VAT and all that on imports of food and also exports of goods. So the idea is to stimulate the economy through supply side, allowing less taxes so that you can export. They've even given lots of leeway on if you export, you can do whatever you like with the dollars. They want to give you leeway. So if it is implemented, things might start to turn around. The key word for this government is implementation. Make sure you drive it down. Please drop the politics. If you want to call the guys you contested with, call them. Have a quote-unquote joint economic team. Call them in. They will come. They will come and they'll work with you. Drop the politics. Drop all these guys you have paid on social media to attack people and all that. Work together and the glory is yours. But if you keep on dividing people, if your spokesman keeps on dividing people with tribe, then things don't work well, because you need to have a working team to get a working nation. So that's my call out to you guys. Call them, work with them, the glory is yours. But if you keep them at arm's length and keep on abusing them, it's your call, right? All right, so guys, on that note, let me let you guys go. Thank you so much. Love you all, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow or Sunday. Take care and bye.